Welcome to this explainer. Today we're embarking on a genuinely fascinating journey. We're going to look at how humans navigate the chaotic, unpredictable seas of uncertainty. And we're actually going to look at this from two completely different yet surprisingly connected angles. First, the existential challenge of navigating our own lives, and second, the literal, physical challenge of navigating the actual ocean. By bridging early 20th century philosophy with cutting-edge 21st century oceanography, we're going to uncover exactly what it takes to find our bearings when we feel completely adrift.
So let's kick things off with a rather provocative question. Are we all just shipwrecked? This is the central metaphor from the renowned Spanish philosopher José Ortega y Gasset. He essentially argued that human life isn't just something handed to us ready-made. Instead, we are suddenly thrown into existence, and it feels exactly like being lost at sea. Life is this constant state of disorientation, an absolute abyss of uncertainty, a problem that desperately needs to be solved. I mean, we don't get a map. We just wake up treading water, and we're immediately forced to figure out how to swim.
Here is our roadmap for today. 1. Life is a shipwreck. 2. Navigating your circumstances. 3. The revolt of the masses. 4. Science versus vital reason. 5. Forecasting the physical seas. And 6. Finding your true course. Let's dive in.
Section 1. Life as a Shipwreck, the Human Condition. When we dig into Ortega's philosophy, you quickly realize he didn't see human history as just some dry timeline of physical events. No, for him, history only truly exists when we become aware of our deep responsibility in making choices. Think about it. We aren't stones or plants. We are existential entities. The very act of making a deliberate choice is exactly what separates a biological life from a biographical one. Human history is literally made in the fiery crucible of our own free will.
This brings us to his absolute most famous dictum, I am myself and my circumstance. So, what does that actually mean for us? Well, it means life isn't just your inner thoughts, and it's definitely not just the outside world. It's the inescapable combination of both. You are a self, thrown into a specific room, a specific year, a specific society. You absolutely didn't choose your circumstances, but you are forced to respond to them. You literally cannot separate the navigator from the ocean they're sailing in.
Section 2. Navigating your circumstances. Finding your bearings.
All right, so if we're shipwrecked in an environment we completely didn't choose, what tools do we actually have to survive the storm? The crucial point here is that we have to use what Ortega calls vital reason. Now, this isn't some cold, calculating mathematical logic. Not at all. Vital reason is reason from life's point of view. It's the deep existential reflection we use to decipher our specific world and build a life plan. It's how we find our authentic vocation. Because without vital reason, you're really just drifting aimlessly, letting the currents push you wherever they want. Vital reason is essentially the compass you build from your own self-awareness, which lets you plot a deliberate course right through your circumstances.
Section 3. The revolt of the masses. A cultural threat.
But, what happens when humanity just decides it's way too exhausting to keep navigating? Ortega warned of a pretty serious cultural phenomenon driven by what he called the mass man. The mass man is essentially someone who feels perfectly content just being exactly like everyone else. They actively avoid the moral demands of charting their own course. They ignore history entirely, feeling totally entitled to all the benefits of civilization without actually understanding the massive historical effort it took to build them. When society gets dominated by this blind mimicry, we stop navigating and basically just start drifting as a mob. Ortega argued this leads straight to a hyper-civilization of barbarity, where the state completely absorbs the individual.
Section 4. Science versus vital reason. Algorithmic versus human.
Now, Ortega had a really specific take on science. He absolutely respected it for sure, but he argued that while the physical sciences give us these exact predictions and causes, they're really only addressing secondary questions. I mean, science gives us incredibly useful objective facts, right? But it cannot solve the core human drama of existence. Math and chemistry simply won't tell you how to live a good, authentic life. Algorithmic thinking is absolutely brilliant for mapping out the physical universe, but it falls completely silent when it comes to saving the human soul and finding personal meaning.
Section 5. Forecasting the physical seas. High-resolution ocean. So let's totally pivot here, from the philosophical to the highly empirical. Modern science is literally focused on navigating the actual physical ocean, specifically the Northwest European shelf. And scientists over at the Met Office have achieved something practically mind-blowing, a forecasting grid with a staggering 1.5-kilometer resolution. We are way past guessing what the ocean might do. We are modeling it down to hyperlocal detail to physically save actual lives at sea. To put that into perspective, this represents a massive technological leap. The Met Office's older model, known as the AMM7, operated at a 7-kilometer resolution and was coupled with a biogeochemical model. But the brand new operational system, the AMM15, brings that all the way down to just 1.5 kilometers. So what does that actually mean for us? Well, this incredible resolution unlocks a dramatically better view of mesoscale variability. We're talking about those complex, swirling eddies and localized currents, plus it allows our forecast to get much closer to the coast. So what exactly are we forecasting with such intense precision? The AMM15 model accurately predicts ocean temperature, salinity, horizontal currents, storm surges, and the very real risks of coastal flooding. By mastering these super complex physical variables, this high-resolution science is actively supporting renewable energy operations, it's guiding fisheries, and most importantly, it's providing the exact facts we need to ensure the safety of human lives in highly tidal, heavily trafficked shallow shelf waters. It's a real game changer.
Section 6. Finding your true course. Synthesizing frameworks.
Look, to survive today's completely chaotic world, we clearly need both of these frameworks. On one hand, we're facing the physical seas, right? Here, we absolutely rely on high-resolution empirical models like the AMM15, using exact algorithmic physical science to predict nature and keep our physical bodies safe from the storm. But on the flip side, we are constantly facing the existential seas, and here, science really can't help us. We have to rely on our vital reason, dig into our historical context, and make very deliberate, authentic choices to keep our souls from just drowning in the crowd. We need science to map the water, but we desperately need philosophy to decide where to actually sail.
Which brings us to the absolute ultimate question we all have to ask ourselves. We live in this incredible era where we can literally forecast the swirling currents of the ocean down to 1.5 kilometers. But how are you going to navigate your own life? Are you just going to drift along like Ortega's mass man, letting society entirely dictate your direction? Or will you take the wheel, employ your own vital reason, and chart a deliberate, authentic course through your circumstances? The ocean is waiting out there, but the choice of how to sail it, that's entirely yours.